Yo, yo, yo. What's good, YouTube? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Welcoming you to Answering the Bell with Stormybman, our Sunday morning call-in show for this Sunday, July 24th, 2022. I hope everybody's doing well out there. It's a glorious day. If you're here, if you're awake, if you're about your right frame of mind, you are blessed. You are fortunate. Count them. Count your blessings. Give praise and glory for receiving them, because you are in the light. There are some who are in complete darkness and are unaware of what their blessings may be. You have to take count of these things. Yes, sir. It's a great day. Glad to be here. Glad that you are here with me. This is number 47 in the series of call-ins. When we come out here for the call-in show, it's a chance for us as a community to talk about the sport of boxing, have back and forth banter, speak on topics that trouble us, sometimes things that excite us. Overall, just a recap, and review and exchange for the sport of boxing. That's what we do here. And there are times when the numbers really swell, and that's great. But it's nothing like having that base of supporters that you see, the familiar faces on a regular basis. And I appreciate all of you so much. Some are waiting for the show to go live. Some will listen to the intro. I love my intros, by the way. Stormy takes pride in those intros, man, because each and every one of them have their different vibe and flavor, and there's a reason for that. And if I got to explain it to you, get to the back of the class. Huh? But yeah, we are here for the Sunday morning call-in show. Make sure you greet one another with love as well, because that's what we're about over here. Spreading that love. Huh? The respect, the camaraderie, the support for the community. Yeah. Taking a look at the names that are out there with us this morning. Some of you don't know how to enjoy a Sunday morning, but I can help you out with that. You know, there's nothing like getting up early to a pummeling of Canelo Alvarez, huh? Yeah. Yeah. If only Triple G, when they face each other soon, can follow up the work that Bivol laid down, we could all be happy campers, huh? Yeah. It's time for the cinnamon train to be taken into the shelters, huh? Off the tracks. Don't like this dude, man. And it's only because he refuses to face his contemporaries. Why? Scared of an ass whooping? The ass of boxing should never be afraid of an ass whooping. Because all he's made people do is kiss his ass and rake in tons of dough. Facing mediocre opposition, guys that don't deserve to be in the ring with him. He's on the Geritol movement right now, facing the 40-year-old Triple G. But I'm going to tell you, the last thing to go from an old guy is his punch. And if Triple G happens to be motivated, But we could talk about those kind of things as well. I just like to have an excuse to play that clip of him being demolished by Dmitry Bivol. You guys can give me thoughts and feelings about the upcoming Shields versus Marshall middleweight undisputed championship. We can talk about that. The exciting co-main feature on that card that will be Michaela Mayer taking on Alicia Baumgardner. I understand that this may be an entire women's card. That's going to be very interesting. And we'll get to see it on ESPN. We can talk about Chicago native Jessica McCaskill. Caskilla, the killer. Yeah. Chicago grown, man. She wants another shot at Katie Taylor. Think Katie is ready for that smoke? I think Katie is ready to retire. She didn't want to run it back against Amanda Serrano, and she ain't trying to take on too many of these tough fights. How about next Saturday's bout? Danny Garcia taking on Jose Benavidez Jr. That's a fight that's going to be interesting. You got Mexico against Puerto Rico. Do you think there'll be some insults hurled between their dads in the camps? They've been kind of quiet as of late. I don't know if they're saving it for fight week. I don't know, but this is fight week. Animated characters around those camps, man. Will they behave themselves? It remains to be seen. You know, of course, we can also talk about last night's bout between Joet Gonzalez and Isaac Dogboe. A great fight that we weren't expecting, Turned out to be very interesting. Isaac Dogboe has made some adjustments, people. And those adjustments that he's made may very well be the thing that put him in a place of being successful last night. Barry Hunter's working in his corner now, and if they've been together for this duration between his last few fights and now, he's picking up some positive things. And I would love to see him go onward and upward from that. Then we can also just talk about what you, the chat, callers, might have on your minds That's what really drives the show. What you guys want to discuss. What's on your minds, huh? Very important. Take you guys into consideration. So as you come into the building, I want to welcome you. We can get ready to do our roll call. Got a few people out here. Let's see who we got in the building. Antonio MMA breaking it open, saying, "Salute Sensei. Oos. What a premiere. Boo Boo versus Janibek. Great work from the one of the wise men." Thank you for that, Antonio. And I saw you were out there in the chat. Some of you who are here right now were in the chat over there for the premiere of the video. I appreciate the support. 704 Joe in the building saying, "Peace, Sensei." Peace to you. Jay Gibson in the building with the flames. Sheena is back with us saying, "Sensei is Stormybman." Jay Gibson saying, "Salute to Stormybman and the family." Jay Gibson says, "Fam, those intros." Thanks for that, bro. You know, each show has its own, right? And we do that with an intent. Antonio says, "Man, I hope they knock each other out into a dimension, another dimension. And the fight gets ruled a no contest." Talking about Triple G and Canelo. Yeah. PGH Big Dog in the building. Pittsburgh in the house. TS Boxing. What's good with you? Antonio says, Isaac looked exceptional last night. Yeah. Mr. Pac-Man 216 in the building. Saying, "Salute, Big Dog." Salute to you, bro. And the rest of you guys saluting one another. True Benjamin out there saying, he's happy Joette lost. Okay. You don't like Joette, huh? It's okay. Just like he lost, he can come back and become victorious all over again. It's up to him. That's the one thing about these guys taking losses, man. Some people have built the impression that when you lose, it's over. It's not necessarily over. It might be just the beginning. You may be just learning things. When you take a loss or a setback, now it's time to make a reassessment. That's when it's time to go to work. Yeah. Antonio says, "Sensei, I wonder if Triple G chin is still the same because he's always been able to take a shot." Yeah. But Antonio, you also have to think of who was hitting him on his chin. He never had Andre hitting him on his chin. He never had Andre Ward hitting him on his chin. He never had Charlo hitting him on his chin. So You know, some of those second and third rate fighters that he dominated. Canelo was never noted as a big puncher. And for you guys who have noticed him knock people out at larger weights and everything, why wasn't he doing that to smaller guys? Ooh. Nobody wants to talk about that though. But I'll talk about it. I'll raise the questions, but I demand answers. And I haven't heard not one legitimate answer yet. Huh? What he did to Amir Khan? Who didn't do that to Amir Khan? Huh? Makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. I'm just saying, huh? You have to think about it. I put it out there, but you guys got to supply the answers on that. I ain't doing the footwork for you. Ain't doing it. So, as soon as someone come up with an answer, the better y'all can feel for yourselves. Dr. Professor says, facts. There you go. Antonio says, that's a fact. Fighting blown up welterweights and ish. It's like, that dude, man, you can't see the stuff that he's been doing his whole career, man, and they've just let it happen. And if you think that he knocked out Sergey Kovalev, man, I got some. I don't got nothing for you. I just put it like that. I got no more for you, huh? If you think he really legitimately KO'd Kovalev, Anthony Yard, who's a bigger man, younger and stronger and more powerful, couldn't knock Kovalev unconscious. Andre Ward, a bigger, stronger man, couldn't knock out Kovalev. Huh? And all of a sudden, Cinnamon comes out there and hits him on his chin, and he goes down on the ropes, and he's out for the count. Get out of here, man. Foolishness. Kovalev took the money and ran, people. Ran straight to those attorneys and paid off those people, huh? To keep his butt out of jail. B-Mac says, yes, you are right. Dr. Professor says, Cinnamon got his man strength at 30. Yeah, and he got that extra clenbuterol strength. Huh? Sometimes it ain't even everything that you think you're looking at, right? It ain't. I had breakfast this morning. So I'm doing pretty good. I don't always get a chance to eat my breakfast before the show. I be trying to put stuff together, and then it's like time just flies. I actually watched that premiere, so it's like that cut my time down even more because I was watching the premiere before going live here. Well, we're going to get ready to open things up so you guys can enjoy the features of the call-in show this morning. See what we have on deck. The lines are now open. See my little laid back samba music I got going this morning. Yeah, just Sunday vibes. Rasheed Rourke in the building. He said, Stormybman, Canelo took sensu beans before those fights. He took something. Took something. He took something before those fights from the fighters and the contractual obligations with NDAs. Huh? Yep. Where the hell is Nicholas Walters, huh? Anybody seen that dude? I mean, if you're from Jamaica or something, have you seen the guy? Because he took that fight against Vasily Lomachenko and fell off the map. D.B. Cooper, huh? The black D.B. Cooper, Nicholas Walters. Yeah, I said it. Jason Williams says, peace, Stormy B. Peace to you, bro. G5 Gabe in the building. Salute, Sensei, and the chat family. I've been here for a laugh, but my kid's been on my helmet. Okay. G5, you got to handle that, you know. It's your kids. They demand some of that attention, too. But we got the lines open, people. So, you want to call in and let's discuss some boxing. Antonio says, Stormy, he probably 45 solid pounds over the division. He out in Jamaica with a banana boat and a coconut hut and with his herbs. Eyes cocked like a pistol while Loma is fighting every war but the legacy. I'm just saying, man, don't nobody mention the guy's name, and he comes to mind every so often for me. And I just, while I was on the mic this morning, thought I would ask, where the hell is Nicholas Walters, man? You can't tell me he wasn't on the take, man. After knocking out Nonito Donaire, and he goes from that to facing Lomachenko and quitting against Lomachenko and then just walking away from the sport. That is not acceptable. Not acceptable at all. 704 Joe is out there. What's good with you, 704? Well, if we're going to open it up, let's start off with a few subjects first. We can revisit last night's fight with Gonzalez and Dogbe. A tremendous fight between these two men. Both have taken losses to Emmanuel Navarrete. Dogbe fought him twice, which those losses led to him having to make changes in his corner as far as his dad formerly being his trainer and I believe he's now with Barry Hunter. But in order to elevate in the sport, he need a more quality, experienced coach. And Hunter was definitely a good pick. And based on his performance last night, Hunter has him definitely on the right track. An admirable performance by both men. Like I said, on my scorecards, I had Gonzalez winning, but there were a number of swing rounds, at least 3, that you can kind of go back and forth and say, well, maybe the other guy could have got that round, could have eked it out. Antonio says, man, I'm in the process of getting my life together. When I can start calling in, we're going to be sharing some laughs, because you have to laugh this stuff off instead of being angry, it seems. Yeah, it has its place. It has its place. Everything has its place. Antonio says Barry was giving him everything he needed in that corner. He did. He did. A lot different from Cabrera's corner, right? Against Flores. Shakes wasn't really giving him what he needed, but he still prevailed because he was just better on the night. But Cabrera's looking like easy pickings for someone else in the division, especially when you have a coach that can help you with adjustments. I will say that until the cows come home. Yeah. So you guys not interested in calling in today, huh? Really? Antonio's asking, Sensei, why don't the trainers try learning from other trainers, even if just turning on the TV and watch a Derek James or a Barry Hunter work? I'm going to tell you why. One of the reasons why. This is not the only reason why, but a huge factor in the answer for the question that you're asking, Antonio. People in today's time do not like to give credit or accolades to another party. We in such a selfish, me, self-centered time in our society that to acknowledge someone else, their accomplishments, achievements, progress, advancements, is seen as a show of weakness, which is absurd, because mentorship, learning, is a continuing process, whether you're an old elderly person or a babe. As long as you're on this earth with life in your body, you can learn something. This is why the adopted mindset of some of these fighters of not fighting stiff competition, or someone that when you look at it on paper, it's a 50-50 fight, or lo and behold, that person has a percentage over you as consideration for victory. That's why they don't take the fights. They don't even want to challenge themselves anymore. You remember in school, you used to have valedictorian. first place prizes, awards. Then suddenly someone came up with the ridiculous notion that participation trophies should be awarded so that the ones who didn't win don't feel offended. What? Okay, good morning. We got 214 in the building. Who's calling? What's on your mind? (214) Can't hear you. That was interesting. I'm checking my devices. Everything appears to be correct. Okay, 214, you're in the building. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
You hear me?
Yeah, great. I thought that was something on my end acting up, but I hear you loud and clear now.
Okay, it's 704 Joe from Dallas, Texas, home of welterweight champion of the world, Earl Spence.
What's good with you,
Okay.
704 Joe? How you doing this morning, brother?
Oh, man, I'm doing great, man. I hope the panel's great. I hope you're great. And I'm just here enjoying the show. I wanted to go in what Antonio was talking about. I wanted to talk about the trainers. You
Sure.
was talking about the fight last night.
Yes.
It doesn't, and I like Doe too, but it doesn't matter how tough you are and how strong you are. You're going to have to learn how to box sooner or later.
Exactly.
You're going to have to learn. And in his previous corner, it seemed like they would go with the schoolboy thing. Get mad, get madder, get mad, get madder, hit harder. That's not training. That's not instructions, man. That's not. That goes with the training. My question to you, I got a 3-part question, real short. Who trained you? How did he train you? And what was the most important thing he taught you? Because I know you're a trainer.
Yeah. Well,
Who trained you?
I've often talked about my mentor is Eddie Davis, who is here in Chicago right now. He has worked with a number of fighters professionally. He does tremendous amateur work here. Typically, he always has people in the Golden Gloves tournaments and stuff here out of Chicago. And my dad's trainer, D.D. Lee, is a former well-known trainer from Chicago. He's deceased now, but Eddie knew D.D., came up under that. It was a lot of old school knowledge, technical capabilities that was meted out between them. And they hold that sanctity to this day. It's like of that ilk. And I just happened to come along and come up under Eddie. And he brought me in his gym and let me work with him and alongside. And I basically have a gift of understanding the concepts of boxing, of fighting. And when I started, working with him in the gym, it came so naturally. I remember one time, the very first time he told me, we were at a tournament and a couple of guys from our gym, because we, participating in a boxing tournament with the Park District here, he told me, go and get up there and, coach him in the middle of the rounds, between the rounds. And I was like, whoa, because, I wasn't expecting him to tell me to do that. And got up there and was coaching our guy, and our guy prevailed. But it was exciting because he recognized, what I had in that. And I've had offers to come out to Vegas and work with some professional guys. I don't like to do a lot of name dropping because that makes it appear like you're holding on to someone's coattails or something like that. But I do know a lot of professional fighters. A lot of the guys that came out of Chicago that fought during the 90s and the early 2000s. I know these gentlemen well, and I was asked to come. But I chose to stay where I am because I understand the seedy side of things, and it's like there are some things I just say no to, and there are other things that I open myself up to. But I'll tell you this, when it comes to the most quality of trainers, they care about you as an individual, how to break you down as a person, build your character, and I've always adopted the mindset that what I give you in the gym, you should be able to take it out into your everyday life and apply it in some aspect. Because life is a battle within itself every day. Every day you open your eyes and your feet touch the floor to get out the bed, you're fighting for your life. You're fighting to do something. You might not even look at life like that, but it's not how broad a scope you look at it or a minimum scope you look at it. It's just the understanding that that's exactly what it is. Now it's your determination, or you to make up a determination of how you're going to compete and go forward with your life. Them guys you see standing on the corner, or they don't get up out of the bed until it's past noon and stuff like that. They don't have much ambition or drive. You might as well, next time they lay down that night, put some dirt on top of them. Huh? Because they don't have any motivation or desire to do anything outside of just sucking in oxygen.
Stormy, did you do Golden Gloves? Did you do any amateur boxing?
No, I didn't box in the gloves. No.
Okay, I got you. All right. The most important thing that he taught you, and I'm gonna let you go from there, man. Let you go on with your show. What's the most important thing that your trainer taught you?
The most important thing that my mentor taught me is to understand that as long as you've got something within you, that desire to persevere, to fight forward, to press on, that is important. You see, because without that, you can't move, you can't gain, you can't progress. Even if you fail at something, it's that desire to come back and want to do more. That's very important. We got another call.
I tell people all the time, Stormy, the two Ds, desire and discipline, man. All right.
Okay.
All right, peace.
All right, peace to you, bro. Okay, we had another call that was coming, 267. I wasn't able to answer that one. Call back, 267. Call back. This thing has like a call waiting on it now, and I told you last week was the first time that feature showed up. Google is always doing something, man. It's crazy. Okay, 267, you in the building. What's good with you? Who's calling? What's on your mind?
This is B-Mac, Stormy B-Man. Good morning.
Hey.
12. I'm in here in Jamaica. I'm from Philly, though.
Okay. B-Mac, how you doing, bro?
Yeah. I'm doing all right, man. I'm enjoying it. I ain't seen Nicholas Walters out here either. I'm in Negril, Jamaica. I asked them. They don't even know what I'm talking about. They only know cricket players and track runners.
Man, that dude has disappeared, hasn't he? It's like, was he done under an assumed alias or something? I don't know. He's just been gone.
I don't know why Top Rank was pushing Lomachenko. He's a good fighter and all, and I was liking to see him, but to be allegedly, doing some underhanded stuff to push him forward, it don't even seem like it's worth it. You just spent your money for nothing.
Hey, man, I don't know. I just know that he was looking like the goods. And,
yes,
he had turned back Donaire, who was not a pushover. He stopped Donaire, remember?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he took Donaire apart, bro. And HBO was mad because it's like they were trying to build Donaire up as another, fighter from the Philippines that they can kind of pair up behind Pacquiao, right?
Yeah.
And then Nicholas
Walters.
Walters.
The name, but not the.
Yeah, and Nicholas Walters came along and took that off the table right away. So then when he got in there with Vasily Lomachenko, it was like he wasn't even putting the same type of effort in against Lomachenko, and then he quit. And I was like, wait a minute, what? This don't look right. You know what I'm saying? And then after that night, we never saw the guy again.
Well, he fought one fight after that, and then that was it. And it was allegedly, I think it was 78 reported. Well, I know 78 when I was listening to him. Allegedly that, he got a big lump sum of money in a Miami bank account. Something like, with 3M, and we ain't talking about the tape.
Man. I just say, hey, man, when you see these guys and they take those long sabbaticals, you have to be wondering, like, really, what's going on? Like,
into a big fight.
Yeah, like when Kovalev fought Canelo, right? He got paid well off of that, man. But this is the thing.
It was allegedly. Oh, go ahead.
No, but this is the thing. He had a lot of, criminal charges against him and everything, and they still let him take that fight. Now, that his crimes were against women. So it's like, where was the Me Too movement and everything with that? And Kathy Duver, who heads up main events, she's a woman. It's like you actually kept the guy's bad press out of the media's mouth and everything so that he could get this fight. And let's not forget, he's not an American. So he was here enjoying the lifestyle of an American person, but you're committing criminal acts against women, and nobody talks about it. There's no press. Do you know? Hold on a second. I'm gonna say this, and I'll let you go ahead. Do you know that you can't even find a jail mugshot of Sergey Kovalev? You can't even find one. Why?
Man, I can't even. You got to talk to the DA on that. The DA of California, wherever it was, Bear, California. You got to talk to them. What's up with the DA? I heard the interview on Fred's show, and the young lady, and she was an American, and she was on there with her lawyer, and she put down all the facts, and they're just as confused as we are.
I'm telling you, Shakur Stevenson gets into that that street fight, that little brawl a few years ago, and BoxRec puts his jail mugshot on BoxRec as his picture representing. And I'm like, why didn't they do that for Sergey Kovalev? Why? Nobody even suggested that they do it for Shakur, which was improper and unethical, but they still did it. And Shakur is a biracial man. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there is a double standard. There is a precedent here that when I talk about bias and prejudice, it is definitely here, and in this sport, it's like very wide open, man. And I don't know, I don't like how people who are victimized by it don't want to pair with the ones who support the fact that it is that they are being victimized, and they want to do something about it or say something about it or whatever. And you got these people that trying to act like everything is okay. It ain't okay. It ain't.
Yeah. I mean, just like the basketball player for the Charlotte Hornets, Michael Jordan. We call out wrong and we play fair, where other groups don't play fair. If it happened to one of them, they would totally sweep that under the rug.
Right.
And the media wouldn't be posterizing it. Even though they caught red-handed dead wrong and the female is saying that he did this and I got pictures, the media would not broadcast that on any of their networks because they're on code. I don't care if she do put it out. It got to be something that's truly, truly blatant. But Boxing, I'm a weekend warrior. I love boxing. I've been training for 7 years, but only on the weekends. I'm not like you. But I learned a lot from guys like you, Kurt, a lot of trainers that I cross in the gym. And I just pick up things on TV, listening to cornermen, like Roger Mayweather or Maxine Richardson. I just pick up stuff. And I try to take that and run with it.
And I'll tell you,
everybody got a good list.
When you talk about a trainer like Nazim Richardson, man, I wish that we had more time with him, because he was definitely the truth. And he was the type of trainer that he could tell you about another fighter that he doesn't even work with, but he could tell you the truth about them and be like, hey, this guy's a bad SOB. You better watch out because he's X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying? Nazim was the truth, man. And when Deontay went into his situation and was possibly looking for a new trainer, that was the first person that came to mind for me, because I was like, could you imagine if he was able to get with Deontay Wilder, man? That would have been like a match made in boxing heaven. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because I believe he had the type of teaching, understanding, and the ability to connect, and Deontay is definitely an energy person. So to be able to connect with the energy of someone like Nazim Richardson would have been very fruitful for him.
So for people saying stuff about Deontay Wilder, with his training method and being hard-headed, Nassim had the perfect temperament, perfect alpha male. A guy like you or Nassim Richardson has got the perfect temperament to deal with a fighter that's strong-willed like a Deontay Wilder, or something, that you can break through that. You're not just going to be a yes man because you're there.
Right.
They're going to listen.
Right.
You're going to make them listen, and they're alpha males. So you need it ain't just knowing what to do with a guy like that. You got to be able to deal with that personality, how you going to make it work.
Right.
Yeah, so that's another thing that his last trainer couldn't do. Not the one that just trained, the one before that. What's his name? The one who was with him for about 12 years.
You're talking about Deontay's trainer?
The first one. What's his name?
That's
the boxer.
Yeah.
He couldn't deal with his personality. If he say something, it seems like he couldn't deal with personality.
Yeah, Mark Breland.
Yeah, Mark Breland. Yeah. I listened to him when he said in the corner to Deontay. I don't know if it was brain damage on the way he speaks. I think it's that. I think he had other things going on and was holding him back from training. And he looked like he really didn't care for Deontay Wilder. Truthfully, I don't know their personality. I don't know their relationship, but he didn't really look like he really cared for him.
Yeah, but he never stopped taking checks, did he?
No, he didn't do that. I looked at him. I had to go back and look at the video on that first fight when Deontay Wilder fought Fury, and he seemed like he was upset that it was a draw. Like he wanted him to lose almost.
It's so funny, man. I don't even understand why the guy would hang around Deontay. I watched Deontay Wilder's fights. I started, and I'm not going to lie about this, I was aware of him, like when he beat up Audley Harrison and those guys, but I would see the highlights of him knocking people out and how he was wildly flailing on people and stuff, and I was like, damn, who is this dude? You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't following him. It wasn't until he had that interview with Radio Raheem that I heard what he had to say, and I was like, okay, now he's got my interest now because of how he spoke and what he was speaking on and things of that nature. That's when I started dialing into him. And I realized something about him, that if you're a boxing trainer or a coach, he had a quality that is very rare. And his quality was that given whatever he had, that's what he's going to give in the ring. And sometimes when you have a protege like that, it's like having a lump of clay. Now that lump of clay has weight to it. It has girth. It has, you know, you can squeeze it and manipulate it or whatever. But a real sculptor will start to carve out detail in that clay. Breland never did that.
No.
He never did that. Someone like Nazim would have saw it just like I just defined it and worked on something. Because people talk about Deontay's right hand, right? They talk about him knocking folks out. But I'm going to tell you something. You remember an athlete by the name of Bo Jackson?
Yes.
Now, how would you describe Bo Jackson physically?
He was a physical specimen that professional sports haven't seen since Jim Brown.
Right. And he could pretty much do anything. He could throw a baseball farther than people. He could knock it out the park farther than people. He could throw a football from one end of the stadium to the other. He, you know, it was like he could run fast as a damn track star. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, he was.
And the man was 200
he
pounds.
over his knee like nothing.
Right. The man was 200 pounds. Do you remember that one time when he was in the baseball game and they hit the ball out in the field?
Ran up the wall.
And he ran up the wall like Spider-Man?
Yeah, I remember looking at that game. I was like, this guy is unreal, man.
Exactly. Now, I say all of that to say this. There was an interview with him in Sports Illustrated from many years ago, probably the late 80s, early 90s. And the journalists that interviewed him, this was in the late 90s. Sports Illustrated interview with Bo, and the guy was, they were walking near a lake or something, you know, because he has land, and you know where his land is, and there's water and everything. He said that Bo Jackson took a rock and threw it across the water. You know how you make a rock skip the water?
Yeah, skip the water, yeah.
He's like, that rock was skipping and skipping and skipping and skipping until it went way out into the middle of the drink and then sank. It was just amazing. I'm talking about Deontay Wilder like that because Deontay Wilder has a right hand that we ain't seen before. He can just knock people out, knock them silly. But this is what I've said about Deontay Wilder, and no one really backs on this or pays attention. We know he can hit with the right hand. He's 6'7". He's 6'7" and 210 pounds soaking wet, right? But imagine Nazim Richardson working with him, because like in his fight against Bermane Stavern, the first fight, he showed that piston of a jab that he can throw, right?
Yes, he did.
When Emmanuel Stewart was working with Tommy Hearns, he overdeveloped Tommy Hearns' left hand so he could hide the right hand, meaning that he could throw these wonderful jabs and feint off the jab and had a great hook off the jab and a hook to the body. So he developed that. Mark Breland failed Deontay in that because he didn't develop that left for Deontay. Now, where's the Bo Jackson thing come in? I believe because of where Deontay comes from, his genetic makeup,
they come from the same state, right?
Listen, I personally believe that Deontay can hit equally as hard with the left as he can with the right because it's about his genetic makeup. What we saw was what he was accustomed and comfortable throwing. But just imagine with a great coach like Nazim that could develop that other side. Now you can't get the hell out of the way of the guy because he can get you with either hand. And see, that's what was missing when he ended up facing someone like Fury. See, it's one thing to be able to have your go-to thing, That's your bomb. But if you've got the genetic makeup that both hands are equally as strong, because Deontay is a country man. He's a country strong guy. You can't tell me that left can't hurt you like that right. You can't. Yeah. I had the chance to speak with Malik Scott on Drew Titan's Stronghouse show one Sunday night. We were on with Malik Scott. And I asked him about Deontay's left. He said, oh, man, his left is strong as the right. I said, see, I knew it. I don't even know Deontay. Never had a chance to talk to the brother. But these are the kind of things that when you can see, when you know and understand the sport, you understand these individuals that participate. This is the gift I have. I'm telling you, had the investment been there to make him a complete fighter, not a knockout artist, he's going to knock people out regardless because that's what he has genetically. But if you give him the fortification of tools to operate, nobody can stay in there with him. Nobody. And that's what was missing by the time he ended up facing a guy like Fury. Because Fury is crafty. Being crafty and slick doesn't equate to being good. I want people to understand that. It does not. What makes him thrive is his height and his reach. But if he were not as tall as he is, people would get to him and get rid of him. You understand? Now, Deontay could have got to him and got rid of him if he were built up more with utilizing the tools that were underdeveloped. The tools that were underdeveloped, you develop them so when you get to a guy like that, you can still get rid of him. See, this is why it's like when you grade fighters out, you have to grade them completely. And a lot of fighters are not complete fighters. There's only a few complete fighters in the sport today. A few. You can possibly count them on 7 to 8 fingers. And that's not a lot. That's not a lot.
Complete fighters, you said. Okay.
Yeah, a complete fighter. Lennox Lewis, when he was fighting and he was undisputed heavyweight champion, he defined himself as a 5-dimensional fighter. And when he said that, I loved it because I was like, that means that he understands that there are many layers to the onion. Okay? Being a 5-dimensional fighter, you are a complete fighter. Anything less than 5, you're almost nearly average or below average. You see? But a 5-dimensional fighter is someone that can get it done any way that's necessary. We've got one 5-dimensional fighter out there right now, and he's an undisputed champion. That's Jermell Charlo. Now, how did he leap into becoming a 5-dimensional fighter? I've defined him as a fighter who has done something that nobody else in the sport today has done. He's won every way that you can win with every punch that you can throw. He's won by knocking a guy out with a jab. He's knocked a guy out with a right hand. He's knocked him out with a left hook. He's knocked him out with a uppercut. Now, he has taken a loss, come back and defeated the guy who he had a loss against, whether the judges, jobbed him or not. But we're saying it was a loss. It's on his record as a loss. But he came back in the rematch and knocked the guy out. He had a draw. He came back with the guy that he had a draw with and knocked him out emphatically. Okay? So by doing these things, he has covered what you need to be as a complete fighter in the sport of boxing. Now it is time for him to reign. You understand? Because he is the champion established, which is why you don't just rush him to move on up and wait. Now it's time for him to reign. Turn back the challenges because you want to see why he's as good as he is. He could go up at any time. But you beat these other guys to let them know that that's why there are levels to this. When Lennox became the undisputed champion, the first thing he said was, I want to get rid of all the misfits in the heavyweight division. And he was talking about Tyson, he was talking about Ray Mercer and all these other guys who were just kind of like, you know, thriving in the sport, but they weren't the best. They were always, you know, they had their own little fan base and supports and everything, but they were just kind of in the way because people are looking at them and not acknowledging Lennox. And they didn't want to acknowledge Lennox because he was from another country. Yeah. But he was bad at what he did. He was whooping ass. Lennox was whooping ass from the amateurs through the Olympics into the pros. Wow. You see? And how can you deny that? That's an accomplished man. So when Anthony Joshua stands up there and says Lennox is a clown, really? Who looks like the clown? Lennox wouldn't have lost to Alexander Usyk. He wouldn't have lost to Andy Ruiz Jr. He wouldn't have avoided Deontay Wilder.
No, he wouldn't
have avoided Luis King Kong Ortiz. He would have faced and more than likely defeated all of those guys, with maybe the exception of Deontay, because Deontay had the one thing that Lennox it was his Achilles. Lennox was a little bit chinny, and if Deontay gets to his chin, he out of there.
Yeah.
And Deontay's a better fighter with more courage and will and skill set than Michael Grant, who had the same physical dimensions as Deontay almost, but not what Deontay brought to the table as a fighter. So when you make these type of assessments, you know, like I said, the peeling of an onion, a 5-dimensional fighter is a complete fighter. Most guys in the sport of boxing today are not fighting beyond 3 dimensions.
Never looked at it that way.
That's why you should, because it makes it easier to assess the talent that's out there. Because when you're looking at the talent, remember, that 5-dimensional fighter doesn't mind facing whoever you put in front of them. These guys today, they don't want to fight this guy. They don't want to fight that guy. Yeah. But they'll fight this guy because that's who they could look good against. And that's where they can make the no risk, no reward, and all of that stuff that they talk. You have to put that stuff aside. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you want to be a complete 5-dimensional fighter.
I didn't really start looking at Wilder seriously, like taking him real seriously, because I always thought he was a Michael Grant, an athletic guy that can punch, until he fought Ortiz the first time. And that's when I started taking him serious, because he got hurt in that fight, and he came from behind, and he got rid of him. And you don't see that. Especially today. You don't see that. And I gave Ortiz, to me, only thing was holding him back was age and the win. And he just got clipped by Wilder. He made one mistake, got too tired, he was out of there. But Wilder, what dimension would you call him? How many dimension fighter is he?
I think Wilder had made it to 3 dimensions. Okay. It was the lack. Okay. It was the lack of the development of his use for his left, the hook, and the hooking off the jab. That could have saved him against Fury alone. A better developed left hand. And see, this is the thing. He never was in a fight where he weighed more than the opponent. Everybody has outweighed him. And he was still knocking people to kingdom come. Could you imagine if the left hand were better developed than it was? Just imagine that. And it's a frightful thought. A frightful thought. Because the man wasn't developed as far as he could. The potential, it wasn't cultivated. That's not his fault. If his desire to not want to be better than what he was, then you could say that's his fault, because there are people who could help him get there. But like I said, when you paying someone to work your corner, to work with you in the gym, your development is essential. So
Hey, how you doing? All right.
Mr. Breland failed. He failed miserably.
I've been in the gym with a couple, professional fighters. They in the gym I'm in now. I'm in one of the top up and coming professional fighters. I'm training out of Javon gym. I've seen him probably one time, but Greg Hatchett, he trains me. And in that gym, you're going to come out a fighter because that's a doghouse. I see why he's so strong. But a couple other guys I've seen, train at different gyms, like take for instance Jesse Hart. When I seen him work in the gym, I did not like what his training. Now I'm not no professional like you. I'm not at all. But I did not like what I seen what his training was doing to him in the gym. And I would talk to people like, why is he got him doing that? Why is he doing that? But I didn't know. I'm not nobody. I can't say anything. But I wish he would have got with certain people here in Philly, but he kept his own team. And you see what happened.
Well, you know something? It's like last night, watching the Dog Bay fight. When they showed them in the dressing room and they were warming up, and I was looking at Dog Bay shadow boxing, right? And I talked to someone behind the scenes about that this morning. I noticed there was something different about Dog Bay and his shadow boxing. In his shadow boxing, he was throwing straight shots, straights, 1-2s. And I'm like, that's different. That was in the dressing room that I noticed that. Because they showed him several times before the main event started, in the dressing room and stuff like that. So I said, that's interesting. Then, in the fight, I'm looking at him keeping his hands up, keeping his defense kind of tight, and he was throwing his shots in sets, but they were shorter shots, more compact, not the wide winging shots that he had been throwing when he was working with his dad. And then I find out that's Barry Hunter in the corner with him. And I'm like, okay, there's something good happening here. And Dog Bay was punching and getting out, stepping out to his left. These were things he wasn't doing when he was with his dad. Now, once Joet Gonzalez had got into his own rhythm and he figured out that Dog Bay was throwing those shots and stepping out to his left, he started crowding Dog Bay by mastering the mid-range and getting off from there, because he's got longer reach than Dog Bay and everything, so he's trying to open him up and get him to go wild with the winging shots and stuff. But Dog Bay never reverted back to his old ways. In fact, in rounds 8, 9, and 10, when they were battling in the trenches, Dog Bay was throwing his shots not with a lot of power, but just getting them off, scoring, and then, moving his head a little bit off center line. He was throwing the uppercuts in there. He was throwing the hooks to the body. And as Joet was getting a little tired, Dog Bay was stepping it up, and he wasn't tired himself because he wasn't throwing those big bombs that he would normally throw that wear you out. So by moving his hands and everything, and his body language looked better at the end of the fight than Gonzalez's did. Gonzalez's was looking to tie up a little bit in those exchanges because he'll throw his shots, but he's tired. He's like, okay, I'm stopping now. I gotta stop him. But Dog Bay kept going because he wasn't fatigued. That's mental strength and physical strength and strength from the cornerman, because he wasn't doing those things in the past. And you got a cornerman now that's bringing that out of you. You see the difference. That's why we say there are levels to this. If someone can take you from second gear to third gear and shift to fifth gear and whatnot, that makes all the difference in the world.
All the difference in the world. I never looked at it like that. But yeah, he didn't let him punch himself out. That makes sense.
Yeah. Go back and watch the last 3 rounds of that fight last night. And you can see, because there were rounds that Joet won that I felt in the middle rounds, and it looked like, the fight was shifting. But Dog Bay found like a second wind because he wasn't tired from bombing and getting bombed.
Yeah, you will get tired from bombing. You will get tired from throwing hard shots.
Absolutely.
And if you get hit with a body shot after throwing it, oh my God.
Absolutely. But like I said, he was a little tighter in how he, because we remember Navarrete and how Navarrete was pounding him from pillar to post.
Yeah.
But he didn't look like that same guy. He didn't look like that same guy at all. And he was offering up something very good last night. And now that he got a victory out of that, which I talked about this on my post-fight show last night, he'll be more inclined to go back to the gym and listen to Barry Hunter even more because he got success out of what he was doing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
This guy knows what he's talking about. So yeah. Work. Yeah, it's gonna
absolutely.
Yeah.
He should be even more enthusiastic about, okay, coach, what you want me to learn next? You understand?
Yeah.
Now imagine applying that to Deontay Wilder instead of working with someone like, Breland and working with someone more invested with him. Do you see what I'm talking about?
It's crazy because he trained Cunningham. And Cunningham said Nassim was always enthusiastic on training Deontay Wilder, but never connected. They never connected.
I can imagine because you know what? Because knowing what he knows about the sport, he could see the success this man could have because he's got success already. All you need is just like, it's like looking at Michael Jordan when he was with the Bulls before Scottie and Horace Grant and Bill Cartwright came on the scene. Pieces that were put around Michael was still like the baddest player on the planet, right? But when you put guys around him that were talented enough to play off of what he did, they didn't need the spotlight on them, but they just needed to be there to get steals and rebounds and defend and do the dirty work and stuff. Then you got a solid unit going. You see? Now you got something that can turn into championship caliber because Michael is the star. It's just like the Jackson 5. Michael Jackson was the star. But you had Tito and Randy and all them back there. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and then you get Michael out there doing his little dance steps and stuff, and people are like, woo! You know what I'm saying? The Jackson 5. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's the thing right there. A formula for success is to be able to add to the essentials. To build.
So you being from Chicago and you mentioned Michael Jordan, what you guys think about? What you think about Isaiah Thomas?
What I think about Isaiah Thomas?
Yeah. I heard a lot of people out of Chicago that like Isaiah Thomas because of Michael Jordan.
Isaiah Thomas was one of the great point guards of his era, man. But I'm gonna tell you something that it's gonna make some people mad, and I don't care because it's being honest here. When you have poor character, it comes out at the wrong times. Okay? And it can keep you from ascending to the heights that are available to you when you have poor character. Poor character.
You think Isaiah Thomas has poor character?
Haven't you seen over the years what has followed him?
Well, I think what's followed.
You asked me. Hold on. Yeah. You didn't tell me what you think. You asked me a question, and I answered your question. You questioned my answer, and I asked you a direct question of, haven't you seen what has followed him over the years? Now you're about to say, I think. I didn't ask you what you think. I asked you, have you seen what has followed him over the years? There are things that have followed him that pontificate, that show you the poor character, brother. The walking off the court when the Bulls defeated them, that was designed and orchestrated by him. That's poor character. Where is your sportsmanship? Where is your class? He even says his damn self today that he wish he had not done that.
Well, he said if he knew it was going to be a big thing the way they're making it out to be.
It is a big thing because it's poor character, brother. This is what I'm trying to explain.
Hold on, Mr. Stormy B, man. But remember, when he defeated...
No, I get passionate about it. I get passionate.
Yeah, I know. I got... when he defeated Larry Bird, the great Larry Bird, what did they do? With more time on the clock than what he did to Michael Jordan. They walked off. Now, according to him, what they said, Lambier said that he told him to walk off, and Chuck Daly walked off. So, you know, I mean,
but we weren't talking about Larry Bird, brother. We were talking. You asked me about Isaiah Thomas. You asked me about Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, because you're from Chicago. I want to know what
and
it is.
And before I gave my response, I said I was going to say some things that people might not like, and they'll get mad or angry about it or whatever. But I don't care because I'm speaking facts here. You're in a position, like me being on this station right now talking to you all. I have to represent in a certain type of way in order for people to understand where I stand and where I don't. Okay? I can make mistakes just like the next person. However, I'm not here to reflect the negativity that comes with people who exude ego and all of that, and it's like they can't allow room for growth, for development, so self-awareness, things of that order. When Isaiah Thomas didn't make the Olympic team, he didn't make the Olympic team because of himself. Yeah, there were some people that did not necessarily want him on there. But it's because of what he had done and he had said and how he behaved and those kind of things. No one is responsible for that other than he. And again, poor character, it comes to... We talked about Mark Breland just a little while ago and how he didn't seem to connect with Deontay and things like that, but he was with him for a long time and even seemed like he didn't like Deontay's success or was jealous of it or whatever. Why did he stick around? He just continued to take the take. That's poor character. Poor character. He would have been a better man to say, you know what? I don't like what's happening in this camp. I'm going to step away. And walk.
Knowing what I'm knowing now with this, Bob connection and this Hanahan guy, shoot, as far as I know, he could have been paid to stay on there. He was getting 2 takes. I don't know what to take with that. That thing is deeper than deep. It's bigger than boxing.
Listen, character goes a long way, man. It goes a long way.
That's true, but Isaiah Thomas, for me, looking back now, because, I lived it. You there in Chicago, I'm in Philly. And Isaiah was a winner. Isaiah was a guy that the media didn't per se like because he was good. He accomplished. Another thing with him where they hated was he's from Chicago. Where are you from? The west side of Chicago?
Who, Isaiah?
Isaiah Thomas?
Yeah, he's from the west side, man.
Yeah, he's from the west side, rough side. Larry Bird's from French Lick, Indiana, He didn't have much.
Yeah, he's a hillbilly.
He's a hillbilly that went to the University of Indiana. Couldn't put in the work, couldn't do the work under one of the no-nonsense, no cutthroat coach, no-nonsense coach in Bobby Knight, who a lot of people don't like. I like Bobby Knight. Isaiah goes there. Not only could he do the work, he wins the championship. He goes to the Pistons. They take Chuck Daly, who was our assistant coach, who should have been the head coach instead of Cunningham. Came out of the University of Penn. He's a no-nonsense guy. So for anybody thinking that Isaiah is overruling that Chuck Daly is crazy, if you know Chuck Daly. Now, Isaiah had some input. He's not going to whatever, but Isaiah didn't have as much power as people think. The holdout or the holdout of Michael Jordan in the All-Star game, that was bogus. Like he said, I had no intake of that. That was my second All-Star. The people that ran that All-Star game was Larry Bird, Moses Malone, and Dr. J. Me and Michael had no input in nothing. So they're trying to paint a picture of Isaiah being this power guy. And I think the NBA didn't like him because, remember, he was the president of the union. And a lot of agents didn't like him, mainly Michael Jordan agents. So he got a lot of bad press. And when he did say stuff that was probably, not good to say or shouldn't be saying in public, or they screwed up the words when he said about Larry Bird or something, where they really asked Dennis Rodman, and then the reporter went to him and asked him, and then, he basically agreed with Rodman, and they painted it a whole something else and became bigger than what it is. And it kind of destroyed his relationship with him and Bird. The media never forgot that. When the media never forgets it, the powers that be never gets it. When it was time for him to get elected on the only accomplishment that he stated last to get, and everything else was across the board, was to get that Dream Team nomination. And when he didn't get it, he took John Stockton to school and dropped 44 on him. The next game, Karl Malone split his wing, and he had like 56s in his head. So they always had it out for Isaiah. And Jordan even said himself, he said, look, I never said that I didn't want Isaiah on that team. He said it was powers to be more powerful than me that had him off. I don't want no more Isaiah Thomas questions. Next question. And I said, yeah, that's interesting because every year he's playing with him in an All-Star game and they playing just fine. He's passing them the ball, he's catching hoops, they look good together. So why would he all of a sudden say, I don't want to play with him? That don't make any sense. And then all the people that Chicago had a problem with, that was beating up Jordan, beating up Pippen, and stuff like that, was guys that they recruited later on down the line. They got the John Sally. They went and got the Rodmans. They went and got the Buda Edwards, the guys putting in the blows on Jordan, Pippen, and the rest of them. They got them. So it don't make any sense. They don't like Isaiah because Isaiah's accomplished and he can speak very well for himself. That's just my opinion.
Well, you're entitled to it, bro. You happen to ask me a question. And I just told you. I just want to hear it from a Chicago OG. And this Chicago OG told you what you didn't want to hear. I talked about his character. I didn't talk about his accomplishments. Isaiah Thomas, when I was in grade school, about to go to high school, Isaiah Thomas was coming out of high school, getting ready to go into Indiana. Okay, so I was well aware of who he was. Huh?
Isaiah Thomas is older than you?
Yeah, he's older. He's older than me. He's older than Michael Jordan. He's been in the league a long time.
Since what, 81, 82?
Yeah, Isaiah Thomas is in his 60s, bro. I'm in my 50s.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I know I look pretty good, but that dude is old, man. No, but seriously, I talked about character because that goes, I'm telling you, man, it goes so deep. But remember, we're in a society that downplays the consideration or mention of it. You can have hate groups come against you for taking a closer look at someone's character. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Your character and your merit, you being a man of your word and what you represent and your family and so forth, that's supposed to mean something. Now, lying and covering stuff up and everything, that's the make of order of today. And the better you are at it, the more popular you can be for it. What kind of BS is that? We're in a twisted society now. But the Bible even talked about these things coming to pass before the end. So tighten your seatbelt, bruh.
Okay. Mr. Stormybman, I enjoy your farm in Jamaica. And I'm enjoying the rest of my vacation listening to you.
All right, man. I appreciate you calling, man. Don't be a stranger. Make sure you call again, bro.
Peace, I certainly will.
All right. You take it easy.
Take it easy.
All right, peace. Yeah, great call by B-Mac. That's what's good, when you can bring the calls in like that and have a great conversation. You see how that drove the show forward? We talk about that all the time. Conversation rules the nation. Huh? Yeah. Sheena says, Stormy B-Man, what about LeBron? I seen him walk off the court a few times after a loss, and nobody talks about him. Hashtag poor sportsmanship. You know something, Sheena? Again, like I said, isn't it more accepted today? That's fine. But when Isaiah and those guys walked off against Jordan and the Bulls, didn't want to shake their hands and all of that, it was never forgotten. And it was held over their heads. But Isaiah did a lot more than that. It's a lot that y'all don't know. And I ain't going to talk about it because this ain't a basketball channel. Huh? But I'm going to tell you this. The reality is poor character always shows itself at a time which is most important. And then that's when you can make an assessment and determination on the individual. Pressure bursts pipes. Always have. Always will. Makes all the difference in the world. And what I was trying to assess with B-Mac is that when you ask me a question, note how I responded. I'm going to say something that's not popular, that ain't going to be liked or whatever. But it's based on facts. And when I talked about poor character, that was the last thing anybody would have thought me to say. But if you understand me, my platform, and what I talk about, that's one of the first things you should think about. Because that's the foundation that you stand on. Yeah. Jose Diaz says, they always taught us when you lose, you don't speak. When you win, you speak less. Yeah. Rasheed Rourke says, I'm a longtime Lakers fan, but Isaiah is one of my favorite players of all time. But he made a mistake for walking off. He made a lot more mistakes than that, bro. Demon Kennedy out there, he says, Kobe is better than all of them. Yeah. T-Berry says, I knew you was going to say that, Stormy B, man. Us from Chicago know that about Zeke. Listen, man, there are so many things that could be said, right? But did you hear me, T-Berry, when I read Jose Diaz's last comment? When you win, you speak less. I don't have to go there. I don't have to speak it all, right? But just do a little research, people, huh? Look into things. Discover for yourself. Investigate, as they say, huh? Then you learn some things, and you be like, oh, I didn't know that. Wow, really? This happened? That was said? That was done? Oh, wow. It really puts a different spin on things. Mm-hmm. I love this, man. I love when you guys, you call in and we can have these conversations, man. Great stuff. Great. Now, if I could get somebody else to call in so we could carry the show into its conclusion. Can we do that? Get another caller? We need one more. Antonio says, Sensei, how do you coach a fighter boxer who has too much fire? For example, when he gets hit, he wants to fight opposed to remaining calm and sticking to his game. Guys like that, you have to, in the gym, temper them. You put them through drills. Drills may be boxing an entire round with only your jab. Hook off the jab, jab, jab. Don't throw the right hand, even if it requires you binding the right hand, because there's a way that you can, wrap the guy's right hand up by his chin like this, have him out there shadow boxing or sparring. You can't use nothing but that left hand. Don't throw the right hand at all. Huh? Yeah. And not just for a short time. You do it long periods of time, Mix that in. Yeah. Or what should a fighter do? I've recently found myself not being calm as I once was, and now it subconsciously makes me want to bang out. I have striker dimensions, not a brawler body. Take your ass to the side, wrap your feelings up, put them in your shoes, and walk on them, Antonio. Because that, at the end of the day, that's all that is. That's your feelings. That's your emotions. As Bruce Lee told the Shaolin student in Enter the Dragon, emotional content, you must have that to be able to temper yourself. You should always do the opposite of what the opponent is trying to get you to do. If he's trying to get you to box, you bang. If he's trying to get you to bang, you box. If that little voice in your head is trying to get you to do something you don't want to do, you do the opposite of that. Who's in control? You, they, or it? That's right, King Corleone, 100%. Yeah. Can we get another person to call in before the end of the show? Come on, people. Sheena says, I guess one can have difficulty speaking if they feel like crying. I don't understand why that comment comes, Sheena. What is that in context to? Give us a little background of what you're talking about. Antonio says, Sensei, thanks. as I said, I put down the herbs and started back meditating. I hate it because I come here listening to what I should do, but wasn't following suit. Well, that's just it. A lot of times we do get what's called conscious, right? It is like that little voice in your head. Sometimes we follow it, sometimes we don't. And sometimes we look forward to hearing from a different source, familiar and often unfamiliar, that can assist us. But it's the desire to want to know the difference or want to know better. That's the thing. Nobody has anything else to say, huh? Interesting. Says we got about 37, 40 people out there. What you guys doing? Just looking, peeping through the blinds and bushes. Well, I'm going to get ready to wrap things up. I'm not just going to stay on the airwaves and people don't want to participate in the show. Got a few things to take care of. Antonio says, I really understand Bud Crawford after Thursday. Sparring casual boxing fans don't understand what he's dealing with mentally. I doubt he wants to just bang on guys, but when they hit him, it starts. I said I wasn't going to talk about that guy until they make the Spence fight. You know, we got a date signed and delivered. I don't care what Bud does. I don't care what Spence does. You know, if they can't fight each other, let's just move on in boxing. Tired of it. Just absolutely tired of it. It's okay, Antonio. Just like some drop off, some drop in, man. I don't worry about that. Remember, there was a point I started when I didn't have anybody listening. I was just doing my thing, you know. It don't stop no show, huh? I stop my show, and I stop it when I get ready, you know. But I appreciate everybody that came out today, supported. Almost 200 people, so I ain't complaining. But we're going to get up out of here. Enjoy your Sunday. You know, it's like a day of, I guess the weather is so here. But shout out to the mighty LDBC. And we catch you guys next Sunday on the next one. Huh?